Trump versus Harvard. Guys, we talked about why I believe that Trump is wrong. We also talk about the Afrikaners thingy quite recently. We also talk about why China is heavily dependent on the United States. Why it's not the other way around, as many people believe, but why China is actually heavily dependent on the United States. We also talk about the tariffs, why they were paused. We talk about many things. We talk about a lot about geopolitics and macroeconomics on this channel. And today we will be focusing on Harvard versus Donald Trump, why there is such a big divide between the elite universities and between pretty much the rest of the country. Also, one thing that I want to mention. If you noticed during the video called the Afrikaners thingy, where we were talking about the white farmers in South Africa, guys, you may have noticed that I went a lot from my memory, and so many of you have corrected me in the comments down below. I would love to encourage you to also, if you feel like in this video, in this particular one, Trump versus Harvard, about the elite education in the United States, if you feel like I have some gaps in my knowledge, make sure to write it down in the comments. And also, not only I will learn something new, but also our entire community will learn something new. So feel free to do so. Also, make sure to write down below in the comments what do you want me to talk about next? What is the topic that you feel like I should cover next? And with that being said, without any further delays, let's go, guys. Also, I want to mention, before we go any further, before we even start, before anything happens, listen. I need you to do me a favor. Make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. It just, guys, helps the algorithm. So it would be a huge favor to me. Okay, without any further more delays. I just want to mention before we start, I read a book a few years back. It's called Excellent Sheep, and it talks about the higher education in the United States, and more specifically, it was written by a guy who worked in one of the Ivy Leagues, and he worked there as an educator, but most importantly, he got a job in the administration, in the acceptance. He was basically making sure who will get into the Ivy Leagues and who doesn't. He was basically reading your resumes and rejecting you, and then he also conducted the interviews. If you got further in the acceptance process, he would interview people, and so he wrote a book about it. There were other interesting parts of the book that I feel like more than his personal experience. There were other parts of the books that I felt like were very interesting and that I also want to mention in this video. The most important part of the book that I believe, to me, it was the most important part of the book. It was kind of skipped over relatively fast, but from point of economics, from macroeconomics, I would like to point out that the most important part of the book to me was the fact that the privately held Ivy Leagues in the United States, they are basically hedge funds, and more specifically bond funds. They are the biggest bond fund holders, one of the biggest bond fund basically holders of debt. And if you're on the other side, it's called bonds or treasuries. If it's a state issued bonds, if it's a state issued debt, we call that treasuries. And so these private leagues are basically bond funds that hold extreme amounts of debt. And this debt is rated very, very, very secured, very, very safe because the customers, because the kids that take this debt in order to go into this school, they cannot default on this debt. They cannot basically stop paying on this debt. They are required to pay on and on and on. Otherwise, the interest just keeps getting on top of it. There is no way to default on this debt. And so these schools are basically just hedge funds, and they hold extreme amounts of debt that is extremely safe rated, because you cannot default on this debt. And so they accumulate insane amount of wealth. And more than in business of educating people, they are more and more in the business of financials. They keep quite a healthy balance sheet with this debt. And one thing that I also want to mention is that after you start accumulating this debt, these kids become less and less, basically, they start to have slightly more power over you, because they are consumers. They are no longer kids that you are educating, but they are basically consumers. They are paying for experience, and they pay quite a hefty price. They have to take an insane amount of debt, and so more and more will start to get customized, and basically more and more things are catered to these kids, because it is more and more a luxury experience. Higher education in the United States is less about education itself, but more about the experience that the kids are experiencing during these years. And more it's a luxury experience for the wealthy, and less it is about actually learning something. That is because the money that is involved, the financials, is just insane. You're basically indebted for the rest of your life, and you cannot default on this debt. And on the other side is the higher education that profits extremely from this. I mean, extremely profits from this. They are literally hedge fund, like for real, with a little bit of extra like ceremonies when you throw your head in the air, but that's pretty much it. It's just a hedge fund, you know. The book goes more farther. The Excellent Sheep, the book that I wanted to talk about, it goes more farther into the experience, into the personal experience of this particular administrative bureaucratic educator. And that's also quite interesting. I can recommend you this book. I have to be quite honest. All of these books that don't have a storyline, the books without a storyline. So, for example, books that are not like Harry Potter, where there is a storyline and you follow the storyline, but the more books that are, yapping around a little bit, they are usually amazing in the beginning, where the author of the book has a lot to say. But as the book progresses, it gets a bit more dry at the end. And so this book follows this pattern. So at the end, I remember a little bit, it was a bit more dry. It wasn't as exciting as in the beginning. There were much more substance, in the beginning. So if you're interested in book, I can definitely recommend. But if you feel like you cannot finish it, that's fine. I finished this one till the end, but generally speaking, I truly believe that if you don't like any book, you should put it out. You shouldn't be trying to finish it, because life is too short to finish every book. But with that being said, I feel like we have talked about enough about the higher education. I feel like we have mentioned everything. Obviously, when it comes to this particular situation in Trump, this is more about censorship. Just in general, this is pretty much about censorship. But in general, I want to point out, I feel like everybody's going to be talking about the censorship that is happening right now. Exactly. And so I wanted to showcase you that this problem is a bit more deep. It goes a bit more deep than just the censorship. And yeah, there is just a huge problem of, there is a huge conflict of interest when you pay so much tuition, such a huge fee, and when on the other side is basically this hedge fund that keeps profiting of people getting in debt in order to attend this luxury experience that is much less about education and much more about the experience itself. And so this actually goes a bit deeper, much deeper than just about censorship this time, I believe. And also I wanted to talk about more stuff than just censorship. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. Make sure to check out the videos here, there, and everywhere. And guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Bye bye.